turn it over to Cap.
Great, thanks Angie. And hello everybody and welcome to our webinar, Business Planning for Sustainability. This is a topic that's dear to my heart because it brings so many things together. I do have a couple of Adobe Connect things I want to just check in with you as we get started. First of all, on the right side of your screen, we have a question for you to answer, if you would please. It's a short answer poll, so you can type into the box that says type answer here, and then click on that little icon to the right of that to have your answer show up. It is interesting on the short answer poll, you can edit your responses. So different than the chat box, we need you to type your name in because that doesn't show up by itself, and you can edit your response. So go ahead and type in the answer to the question, what has been your experience with business plans? And give a little short description if you would. That would be awesome. As you are thinking about that and working on it, I'm going to introduce us to the topic itself. So our objectives for today in our Business Planning for Sustainability webinar is to identify the purpose of a business plan, check out who that audience really is, consider a systems approach to sustainability. I'm going to be describing and going into some detail on the 4 key elements of a business plan. And then we have some tools that we'll be introducing to you. I have a guide and the template that are part of today's Adobe Connect, and as Angie mentioned, she sent to you earlier in an email. And we have several other resources that we will be highlighting within our guide, just to bring them to your attention. So that is our outline for the day. And I want to check some audio just to make sure that we can hear folks. It makes such a difference when you have an opportunity to ask questions and add your comments and insights. So let's do an audio check. And I thought what I would do is start at the top of the participant list and ask for a hello. And also just the slightest noting of the answer that you gave in your short answer poll. And Becky, I'm actually going to start with you. I'm so glad to see you on the webinar today. If you would just start with a hello and check in. Star 2 to unmute. All right, I'm going to keep going down the line, and Becky will check back with you. Beth Ann, I heard you a little earlier. How are you? Star 2 to unmute.
Can you hear me?
Yes, hello.
Hi.
That's great. Just a little read out loud maybe your answer to our short answer question.
Sure. I have just a little experience just in some of the grants that we've worked on, but very little experience for the actual business plan part of it.
All right, great. Thanks, Beth Ann. How about Sindra? Love to hear a hello from you.
Hello, this is Sindra, and I would second what Beth Ann had to say. We've worked through the business plan experience. I think we had a site visit with some of you folks from the Rural Health Resource Center last summer, and we worked through some of the components, but outside of that and some other grant work, it's been very minimal experience on our end.
All right, good, Sandra. And you'll see some things that look somewhat familiar to that workshop. For folks, we had a sustainability workshop and introduced one of the tools that we'll be using today, but we've done a little bit more refinement, Sandra, and put it kind of into a more formal guide. So there'll be some new things for you today. And Cindy Large from Indiana. Hello from you.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Okay.
What is your experience?
Quite a bit. I've been writing business plans, well, for every grant that we've ever had or for a long time. But currently, I mean, this is real timely. I appreciate the timeliness of this because we are kind of switching up our allied health professions direction because of some things that we've identified through our performance improvement efforts. And in order to do that, we're going to be writing and have already begun to write a new business plan. So
all right.
I live by these. So thanks a lot.
Good, good. I'm glad you're on the phone too. So we'll have some other chances to check in later on today. Okay, Kimberly. Hello, check in from you. Star 2 to unmute, Kimberly. All right, I'm going to move on down and come back and check in with Kimberly in a bit. Kristen from Union County, how about a hello from you? Can we hear your voice today?
Hi, this is Kristen. I've written different business plans, some for nonprofit organizations, one for the network, and then also when I was a board member and treasurer of a Main Street organization, and then to assist a dentist who was interested in moving to town, wrote a business plan for him, and then also for a local movie theater, and then for my business classes, graduate business classes.
Great. Well, thanks, Kristen. I hope there's some insights that you gained from today's webinar, and then also, as I said, there'll be some chances for folks to add in their insights as we go along.
Sure, always learning. Thank you.
Great. Hey, Marcia, how about a check-in with your voice, a hello? We're doing audio check-ins. Star 2 to unmute. All right. Well, we'll check back with you, Marcia. And Kimberly, thanks for letting me know you're a listener today. That sounds good. And Becky's not on the phone today either. All right. Then let's try Patricia. How are you, Pat? What's hello check-in?
Hello, everyone. And I have read a lot of business plans, and I have written one quite large one and had my fingers in lots of them, but that doesn't mean I know anything.
Well, you're sounding pretty humble to me, but I'm glad to have you on the phone, and hopefully you'll have some new insights today as well. Okay, Reba, how about you? A check-in with a hello.
Well, hello, and I have not had any experience writing business plans, so I'm very interested in the information that I'll learn today.
Great. That's great. And I had heard Benjamin's voice earlier, although I don't see him on the screen. But Benjamin, are you still there?
I'm here. I'm not on screen, however.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I have
well, that's all right.
had a little bit of experience with the business plan in that I had to successfully write one to complete Entrepreneur University. But additionally, like Reba, I want to learn more.
Terrific. And I'll be using the Writing a Business Plan guide. So for folks that are following along, that guide is available to you to kind of track along. And I have Stephanie on the phone. Star 2 to unmute Stephanie if we can hear your voice.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can.
Hello. Okay. Hi, I have very little experience in that. I've written one for a small business that my husband and I opened a couple years ago. That's about it.
Well, that's terrific. Thank you. And then I know I have Chris on the phone as well. Chris, how about you? Any experience with writing a business plan?
No, not really. So I'll be able to see if what I think is supposed to happen is going to happen.
All right. Yes, I think that's sometimes the mystery is what are we actually talking about when we use the word business plan. So I'm going to check one more time with Marcia. Marcia, are you nearby?
She just sent me a message and said that she's on the line and that she can hear.
Okay. So can hear fine. Awesome. Well, we'll move ahead into the presentation, and because I want to make sure we spend some time on that, but also it's important to get voices out there and have this chance to interact a bit, and I like to know what folks are starting with as far as this topic is concerned, because there really often is a very broad expression of experience and insights, and so I'll be speaking, try to kind of mention along that spectrum and add value to all of yours experiences and bring you along as we consider business planning for sustainability. So I've taken this document, the guide and the template, from a couple other opportunities we've had of presenting business planning and writing a business plan to other types of networks. I've switched it up a bit to focus on the Rural Allied Health Training Networks. It really doesn't change the structure or the content of a business plan, but I've tried to get the language aligned with you all so that it makes sense to you and you don't have to do a lot of translating. I wanted to point out just the file share that Angie had. Is there anything else? I think that is it. So let's move on into the presentation. As far as your guide following along, I'm going to start with a few slides where I'm really introducing the topic of how business planning is associated with sustainability or contributes to the sustainability of an organization. I pause on our purpose slide here for the Rural Health Resource Center and Rural Health Innovations, because this topic of business planning for sustainability is part of our performance improvement focus area. Performance improvement is really about being the best we can be as a program, as an organization. And business planning is one of those critical practices for both sustainability and performance. I spoke to these learning objectives earlier. I'm going to now spend a few minutes in the beginning, several slides talking about the systems approach to sustainability, purpose, and audience before we get into some of the detail of the components. So the definition of sustainability, this is starting with the big picture. It's the desire for projects to exist over time, you know, this concept of being sustained. A study was done by Marianne Shearer. She's a Robert Wood Johnson Foundation study person, and it's about 10 years ago now, but she is really examining how American and Canadian health-related programs achieve sustainability and work to identifying those factors that contribute to the sustainability of their organizations. And what she found is that out of these 19 organizations that she studied, they all have really similar definitions of being sustained. They focused on achieving outcomes and maintaining the ability to continue activities over time. And that's not a surprise. As I was thinking about this, I thought that just reshifting some of the definitions for rural health networks, and we would work with the definition of the ability to achieve desired outcomes and financial viability through implementation and deployment of an organization's business plan. Sustainability sounds easy when you say, well, it's just going to be us continuing on whatever we do, and you know, how easy is it to implement or deploy a business plan? But we all know it's not easy, because if it was easy, we'd be doing it, we'd be sustained, and it would not be a problem. I think the problem is that planning for sustainability requires more than just simply executing a series of plans. It really is about understanding how those plans fit together and how they interact. And to understand this, we need to be systems thinkers, and we also recommend using a framework because that helps us really see the different parts. And before we jump into actually writing it, let's use a metaphor for this systems thinking idea. So when you have a car, here's a picture of all the parts, and in this parts you can have a tire, but you really wouldn't have a car. You could even have all these parts, and you still wouldn't have a car. I have something that's not coming onto the screen like I thought it would, so I'll just say it verbally. So there's a car really is only a car once it's put together. And it has to be put together in a way that all the parts work together. So a car only functions when all the parts are interacting. Today we're going to be learning about the parts of your business plan. And your job as you go forward in writing a business plan and implementing your business plan is to always be on the lookout for the interactions between the components within your business plan. And remember that everything is connected. So your car won't run unless all the parts are there and they're working together the way they're supposed to. And your business plan won't function unless you have all the parts there and they're interacting in a way that allows your organization to function at its very best. Oh, there it is. No one part of a car is a car, and the car functions because of how the parts interact with each other. So now the next slide. I want to give you all a tip or a leg up in writing a business plan, and that is using a framework. A framework provides a structure to help understand the parts and the interactions between the parts. So with your allied health projects, you've already done a couple of different plans. Different aspects have been worked on through that will move you towards your business plan. And we'll be building on that conversation and thinking as we go through this presentation. I want to highlight that a business plan is really this compilation of plans. Its primary purpose, though, is to convince external readers of the ongoing viability of the organization or your project. So why do you write a business plan? You're writing these the individual plans to help make decisions and move the organization forward. But the reason that you put them all together and study those interactions is so that you think of you think about your whole organization, but your goal is for external readers to understand and be convinced that you're a viable ongoing program and that you're going to be around for a while. And the business plan then becomes a living document that projects out a few years, just like your strategic plan projects out a few years. I have a poll question I'm going to pull into our viewing, and I'd like you guys to check it out. I'm going to bring in, this is a new idea for us, to bring the poll question right into our presentation. So I'm going to ask you guys to answer this question, type in your thoughts regarding your program. Who are some of the people and organizations that might be interested in reading your business plan and understanding your program's ongoing viability? Who do you think is going to care or need to understand and to care? If you type your answer into that middle box and hit the icon to the right, your answers will show up. If you put your name at the front of your answer, thank you, Stephanie, for great role modeling. When you put your name at the front of your answer, then we can all see who's thinking. And then remember that you can edit your answer after you push the icon to the right. So Stephanie has some nonprofit business members. That's correct. And Sindra, educational institutions, employers, and other healthcare facilities. So those organizations that might either want to be a new partner, perhaps they are wanting to purchase a service from you. Kristen says, yep, your provider partners and your colleges, and then students do care. They want to know that you're going to be around a while if they're going to invest in the program. Board of directors often care. They know a lot of the ins and outs, but oftentimes a business plan gives them something to really dig into as they engage with the organization and their role as a board member. Any others out there? Sure, Reba, great. Healthcare facilities, yep, and your board of directors and students. Patricia, yep. Potential members is great. They want to be on a winning team. So understanding that the organization is going to be around a while will help them be convinced of committing resources, really people's time, financial resources, that kind of thing. Awesome. So these are your audiences, and as you are writing your business plan, these are the organizations and the individuals that are going to read your business plan. And so writing to your audience is a very key aspect of what you do when you're writing your business plan. Thank you, guys. I'm going to hide our poll. Move on to our next slide. The components of the business plan that we've put together, I'm going to present to you today in the webinar, and also that's in the guide to writing a business plan, is a pretty traditional business plan. It has 4 basic components. The program description, it includes the overview of the organization and describes its strategic thinking, the strategic thinking within the organization. And I'll be walking through the components with you all as we go through the next minutes. The market analysis and plan, that component includes understanding your program members and customers, developing that product fit, and articulating the value proposition. The management and operations review describes leadership skills and operational strength, and this is important because it really demonstrates the organization's ability to deliver the program services. And then the financial outlook, this provides insights on the financial stability and also the future scenarios of the program. So we'll continue by looking into each one of these. I also have a couple other poll questions I'm going to pull up here, and I'd really appreciate your input on them as we share with each other kind of where we are on this path of writing a business plan. So I'm going to bring in a few. We've got, what is your familiarity? I'm going to just shift the size a little bit so they fit. So what is your degree of familiarity with business plans? Some of you have already articulated this, but I just thought it'd be interesting to get it in some numbers. I have another poll coming up. I'm also going to move this one a bit. And what are your perceptions of how difficult or easy is it to write a business plan? So just a quick quantitative check-in. So for your degree of familiarity, you've written a plan before at least once. 2 of you all have. Having a working knowledge, you know what they're used for and basically what's in them. 3 of you. So most of you have had that level of, I know what one looks like. And then I don't know much about them at all. All right, 2 folks. And then for your perception of how difficult or easy it is, it's somewhat difficult is the big answer. And I'm imagining, we're going to explore this a little bit further, but I'm imagining it's about take a lot of time and you have to pull all that information together. They can be complex. You might be missing parts that you need input from others on. And it is a comprehensive plan, so they can be time consuming. And then depending on the complexity of your project, it might take a while to think through. My good news for the somewhat difficult aspect is that a business plan is really a compilation of all the planning that you are really doing. So if you find that you are stumped about how to approach your business plan, look to the other plans that you've already developed. And you can lift information literally directly out of your other plans to help you with your business plan writing. So I have one more poll in this section. I'd love to get some of your thoughts and words. I'm going to cover up our other polls. On just at the top of your mind, how do you describe the value of having a business plan? So if someone said, why are you writing that business plan anyway? Why are you spending that time writing a business plan? What would you answer that question? Whoa. Angie, did you do that or did I do that?
I don't think I did.
All right, I'm working. I'm going to, maybe hang on, folks. I hid your poll. Here it is. Sorry about that. Knowing where you're going helps you get there. Nicely said, Kristen. Yes, and sustainability. Whoever wrote sustainability, help us out a little bit. A few more words, or else you can hop on the phone and describe that a little bit more.
This is Sandra. I think your plan can help you determine where you will find sustainability if you're planning for it.
Mm-hmm. So like as you work it through, it's almost like a gap analysis, like, whoa, we don't have an answer to this yet.
Right.
So it gets you to think through those things.
Oh, we don't want to devote efforts to this if it's not going to be important to anybody else or not going to, be a financial benefit for you.
Sure. That's good points. That's great. Yep. Stephanie mentions the financial clarity. Patricia Young, yes, an essential roadmap, operationalizing those objectives. Continued growth, Reba, and structured plans for where you want to go and want to head. That's great. And you know what we'll see as we move into the components is like the strategic plan certainly helps move us into the future, but it doesn't do the financial analysis. And then your marketing plan helps you understand your members, but it doesn't help you figure out how to deliver those products and services. So awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to hide this now and move on to our next slide. So the four business plan components that we'll be describing to you and have presented in the guide include program description, market analysis and plan management review, and financial outlook. And this program description piece, this is kind of like your elevator speech, almost like it describes to your external reader quickly what your goals are and why you exist. Oftentimes, this program description is also in your strategic plan. So the beginning of your strategic plan has a description of your program, and you can lift it right from there and put it into your business plan. It has these component pieces: mission, values, vision, your history, strategic objectives, and your business structure are the kind of the typical pieces of the program description. The next few slides, when you see this image of the boxes, the chart, this comes straight out of your guide. So we're at the first few pages and starting with mission and values. And I'm just going to I'm going to spend just a few seconds really on each component, and a few times I'll pause and we'll go a little bit deeper. So the mission statement, and you all know this through your strategic planning work, this really articulates the purpose of your program. Why do you exist? And you can pull this, of course, straight out of your strategic planning document. The value statements are the principles and beliefs of your program. And you might not have identified these yet through your strategic planning effort, but I would encourage you to spend some time thinking about this, because the values often articulate the shared beliefs of the organization, and it's how the people in your organization behave. So an external reader kind of wants to know who are they partnering with? What are those values that drive the behaviors of the organization? It'll matter to your partners, to those external readers. And for the vision of an organization, this also comes straight out of your strategic planning work. And it identifies the achievements that the program's trying to aim for, the aspirations of the organization. So Peter Senge gets credit for this diagram, and he really talks to the vision as pulling an organization forward. So it's as programs are in this continuous state of adaptation and improvement, and as everyone in the organization is making decisions that move towards the vision, the current state is constantly shifting and adapting to the environment so that it continues to work towards those achievements. We have a resource. So we presented the Strategic Planning Toolkit to you all about a year ago. Is that long? Not quite that. Yeah, I guess it is probably about that long ago. And that toolkit has some facilitation documents in it that will help you have a vision check-in and do some of the strategic planning work. So if you haven't, please consider working on that vision. The other component within this program description is articulating the history. This also probably comes straight out of your strategic planning document, and it really doesn't need to be robust, but it can be concise, but you do want to give your external reader an idea of how you got to where you are. So what is some of that history? The other piece that we highlight in this particular section is encouraging you to describe the culture of your program. And this is where the proof is in the pudding, that the values of the organization are being lived out by your staff. So the culture describes the way we act. How do we work in meeting our mission and implementing our work plans? So this might be a new piece for you, and we would recommend taking a stab at it for when you're writing your business plan. Describe to the external reader what's the culture that we live within that helps us get our work done. What really drives our behavior? What does it look like? And then the strategic objectives needs to be a part of your business plan, because your readers want to understand what it is that's guiding your work. How are you operationalizing that vision? How are you making that vision come true? And the strategic planning cycle is really the way to do that. It's a cycle because it's dynamic. As Peter Senge was pointing out, it's never stationary. Your organization is constantly changing. So as it moves down those strategic objectives, there's executing the plan and monitoring and adapting it, communicating that plan, and then every once in a while reanalyzing and doing some adjustments to your strategies. I think the point I'm going to pull out here when you're writing your business plan is not to get hung up exactly in what language you use, but be consistent with the language that you choose. So if you are describing your goals as goals, then use that language throughout your business plan, and particularly in this program description section. Or perhaps you use the word strategies, maybe objectives, maybe outcomes. If you're using the logic model process, outcomes are often the language that's used for what the ballot scorecard kind of methodology or more traditional strategic planning might use objectives or strategies. So just pick the words that make sense to you and be consistent. I highlight also that in that strategic planning toolkit, there's some great facilitation tools in there that can help you have conversations. If you need to review and revise your strategies, this would be a good time to do it as you work on your business plan. And then the section that I want, I think it's the last section of this business description piece, program description piece, is the really the organizational and the governance structure of your program. So the business structure or the organizational structure describes how your program's leadership and staff are aligned. So it really gives a picture. Oftentimes it's showed in a diagram like I have here to show you the picture of that staff alignment with who's in leadership and who reports to who kind of thing. But there's also the decision-making image. So the business governance describes how decisions are made. And this is a governance structure that I have on the screen here, where the program board makes decisions like what's the vision and the strategies of our organization. The executive director implements the initiatives and work that realizes the strategies and moves towards that vision. There's curriculum committees that report to the executive director. They all have charters and plans that they are working on. And then there's dotted line responsibility and interaction between the committees and then the partners. So probably there's a bunch of different ways, of course, to describe this governance structure, but in a business plan, it helps your external reader understand who's making the decisions and who's working together. You might have a completely different looking image that's more, maybe it's circular because you have very cooperative and collaborative decision-making structure within your network or your program. So it's always up to you guys to what goes into this piece of your business plan, but it's certainly nice for your external readers to be able to quickly understand how decisions are made or who reports to whom. I'm going to do a quick pause right here. Any questions for me or comments, suggestions or comments? I'm checking our participant list too, and I see that Clinton, you have joined us, so that's really awesome. Can we get are you on the phone as well, Clinton, that you can check in with an audio hello? Star 2 to unmute. Well, if you get a chance, check in with the chat box and say hello. We'd love to know that you're here with us. So the next component of your business plan is the market analysis and plan section. And the general purpose of the marketing section is to determine the best fit of your program services to the members' needs, and then to communicate that as a value to your current and your potential members and customers. So this really is implying two things: that your program knows its value and it's able to communicate it. In this section, we start off with describing your current healthcare environment that's impacting or influencing your program and most likely impacting your partners and customers. So it is very helpful for your external reader to have a context for your plans, and that's what this regional healthcare environment description provides. The key here is to answer this question: what are the key drivers of change that are influencing your organization or your program? You can identify the levers and blocks that are impacting the organization or that the organization is adjusting to. And it's this source of this environmental information or the description of the environment around the organization can often be found in your strategic plan. So there's a whole section in your strategic planning document that says, here's the environment, and this is what we are working to either leverage because it's a good thing, or we're needing to deal with it because it's one of those blocks or barriers to achieving our vision. Then in the program partners, members, and customers section, this is a list of your current partners and members in particular, but perhaps also a description of those customers. So you're starting to build almost like a profile of who is engaged with your organization. And this provides examples for those for your external readers to understand who's involved with this organization and to what extent are they involved. And it's about really allowing your external readers to know if they want to basically play with you. Is this an organization that I want to be involved with? Who else is part of this group? We offer a couple of resources to you in the guide. The Strategic Planning Toolkit often has this section included, so you might be able to just pick right out of your strategic plan document. Or you could be do a full and complete target market analysis, and we have provided a resource for that with the Small Business Administration if that's the path that you want to take and dig deeper into who are these, who is the target market for us. Let's understand them better. The next few sections of your marketing component of your business plan is a needs assessment, and in your business plan, this needs to be brief. All of these sections need to be really at a brief and pretty summary level, because remember who your audience is. Nobody wants to read a 50-page document, and I would say that it's probably somewhere around 10, 13, 15 pages. All of this needs to go in that size document, or your external reader is not going to be very interested. When you're talking about the needs assessment, this is the information that helps you. You're describing what you know about your customers and your partners so that you can demonstrate that the fit of your services is a good one. So instead of you don't want to describe, hey, we created this product or service and we really don't know we don't know how it fits with our customers. That's not the thing to put in this section. You want to demonstrate that you're very aware of the needs and the wants of your customers and partners, and there's a great fit with that need for the services that you've created. And that really describes the very next section about the value proposition of those products and services. And this is the opportunity to articulate the work that you've done in understanding the perceptions of your partners and members and customers in receiving or using your products and services. We had provided you with a webinar and some tools last December, Understanding Your Target Market Value Proposition Design. We would encourage you to continue to use those resources to get really good at articulating the value proposition. If you have done a formal competitive advantage study, this would be where it would go in your business plan as well. And I'm just going to highlight the promotion and communication piece is a continuation of this marketing thinking where you're actually doing promotion work, communicating the value of your program services. So what are the messages and who are you communicating them with? And so this would be an aspect of your branding plan or a communication plan. Often in both your strategic plan and your evaluation plan, a component really of any plan, so your marketing plan will have this component as well, is how are you going to communicate whatever it is that you're planning. So that's what this section is. And I'm going to go to the next slide and just pause again. This image comes out of the Targeting Your Market and Doing Value Proposition Design webinar that we presented last December, and it's an awesome framework and tool for asking questions that help you really identify value proposition. It's definitely a process of thinking. Now I have one more poll. This is the last one, I believe, but I want you guys to think about this and share with each other your thoughts on how is your value proposition work going. You know, we've been talking about marketing really most of the whole time we've been working with you as your TA provider, and we all know it's an important aspect of getting folks recruited and involved in your program. You're getting your board members engaged, your partners there. So let's see, what are you thinking about? And this is a multi-answer question. So you can click as many boxes as seems appropriate because I think there's a lot going on with your value proposition effort. You have them and you're all set to go is the top question, and then I'm asking, are you using your value propositions within your promotional activity, or are you still working on identifying your value propositions? Or you're not very confident that you have good ones, even though you have them, you're not super confident about them. And we need to keep working on identifying our target markets. That's the second to the last one. Or simply, we're still kind of frustrated and not making much progress. That was the last one. Well, great. So you can kind of see where this group is lining up with your value proposition work. There's a little frustration out there. And I imagine, as you continue to work on considering the needs of your customers, in particular, perhaps if you're thinking about your students, but maybe you're also still trying to get your members engaged in different aspects of your program, involving them in the retention toolkit or getting them to proactively hire your new graduates, all that effort that you all have in your goals. Any thoughts folks want to share their thoughts on this particular one? I'm somewhat relieved that nobody did the frustrated one, but I was Andy and I were both ready to jump in and help anyone who is feeling frustrated. So if you're not going to jump in and share with us, I'll just tell you that Andy and I'll be considering your responses to this, and we're always available if you do have things that you'd like to bounce ideas off of for developing those value propositions. One more pause. Anyone want to share their thinking on this particular? All right. Well, I'm going to move on to the next slide then. Thank you guys for sharing those. That input. So the third component of a business plan is management and operations review. I need to do a time check. Is it really almost 3? Are we done at 3?
Yeah, we're done at 3.
You guys, I've been having so much fun. You should have been telling me to totally hurry up. All right, management and operations review. I'll have to go. I won't go speedy clickety-click, but we'll move ahead here. So when we're talking about the management, organization, and projects and your skills, what we're really talking about in your business plan is you need to convince your external reader that you have the infrastructure and the work plan and the people to actually get the job done. So you're starting off talking about your program leaders and what they bring to the project and program. You want to describe at the very highest or briefest level. So this is very concise. What are your key initiatives? And the key is the word key. So what are those few things that are really driving your infrastructure and your work so that you are providing the services that you say that you are going to be able to provide? And then articulating those resources and infrastructure to also demonstrate your ability to deliver. I want to highlight this key partners piece because it's not another list of your partners. It's a list of those organizations that are intertwined in the success of your program. So it describes the relationship and clearly states that they are key to the success of the organization or the goals that are trying to be achieved. So these are your really key partners that you want to highlight. Now, this image, we call it the Business Planning Canvas, and we've referenced it a few times in the guide as the Business Plan Worksheet. And this is a new tool. We haven't talked through it with you before. Either Angie and I would be able to help you use it. There's a worksheet that goes along with this diagram that talks you through each one of those boxes. And we find it's a very effective framework as it asks questions and is designed in a way to have you walk through really the system, the interactions of a complete business. The way that it's used most often is as a product development tool. So say, and a couple of you mentioned this, I think, Sindra, you were highlighting this. Perhaps you have a new idea. So you have a service that you want to study and see, is this a service that's going to make sense for us? Well, it's not just the financial aspect of that service, but it's also understanding what are the resources needed, who would be the key partners involved, what are the high-level initiatives that would be needed to achieve or develop or put this product to market. You also, though, as I'm working up the canvas, you also want to understand why this service is important. So what is the value proposition of this particular new idea we have? So if this tool sounds interesting to you, Angie and I would be happy to talk with you about it. And we have the worksheet that's part of your guide as a resource link will be helpful. And at the end of your guide, there's also a link with a more thorough description of this particular tool. What I'd like to highlight on this aspect of your operations section of your business plan is that it's important for your external reader to understand the metrics you're using that demonstrate your success. So it will really help your external reader feel confident that you know what you're doing if they see that you're measuring your progress and are taking that really seriously. So it doesn't need to be your full evaluation plan. In fact, again, it should only be the most important metrics, maybe 2 or 3. If it needs to be a whole page and there's like 5 or 6 in there, that's understandable, but would really encourage you to avoid putting 3 or 4 pages of results. External readers just aren't going to spend that much time, so you want to help them. You want to help them see what's important. And the last step of a business plan component, of course it's not the least because it almost always comes up as the first thing, is a financial outlook of your business. And simply put, it's understanding your costs and articulating or describing and understanding where those revenues are coming from. So at the very basic level of a business plan, you would have both of those pieces of information available to your reader. My note at the bottom of this page and in your guide simply states that you can separate them into different charts, your costs and your revenues, or you can put them together either side by side or stacked on top of each other. So that's for you all to kind of work out. The key is that it's really easy for your reader to understand what are your costs and what are you bringing in for revenue. Your goal is to show that you make more money than you spend delivering those products and services to your customers and members. So make it easy for them, your readers, and they will appreciate that in understanding the viability of your organization. And then this is the last component of the guide itself of your business plan, and that is creating a pro forma scenarios. And organizations and programs don't always have scenarios, but if you've got a Y in the road coming up and you're making a decision that's going to impact either your costs or your revenues, you want to describe that to your reader. That's what pro forma means, is forecasting a future possibility. So you develop the scenarios and you are just simply articulate them. In scenario 1, for example, there are no dues being brought in as a revenue source. And scenario 2 is we have a tiered structure based on our members' net income. And so that you can show what you're thinking about and how you're approaching the future decision. So that's what pro formas are. I'm starting to wrap up here, and I am going to run a couple minutes over, but I promise it won't be that if you can hang on with me. We do have a peer call coming up on the 19th at 2 p.m., and what I'd like for that peer call to be is a follow-up on writing your business plan. So it will be available for you all to share your stories about writing your business plan and your insights, and work with each other on writing a business plan. I'm really going to be encouraging you to write a business plan with a lot of enthusiasm, asking you to do this work. It's not part of your required deliverables, but it's very much of an encouragement, and I'll tell you why. You do have a deliverable due in year 3, so that sometime after this coming August, so sometime between this fall and next summer, you will have a sustainability plan due as one of your grant deliverables. And what that sustainability plan is, Angie and I will be providing you with a template on that, will build directly off of your business plan. Cindra, you gave a fantastic lead-in to this idea that business planning is about being sustainable because it allows you to understand your organization and what you're trying to achieve, given your products and services and how they fit with your infrastructure and how they fit with your marketing and how that fits with your vision and how that fits with your financials. So in studying your business plan, Angie and I have a tool for you to consider some action planning possibilities or gap analysis for sustainability planning. So I ask that you all write one. We're available coaching through email and phone, and can give review and feedback and check-in calls. And if we worked on this between now and mid-fall, that would be really a perfect setup for working on your sustainability plan. So with that, I'm going to say thank you guys very much for your attention today and for participating in my polls and for hanging in there. I've moved to the last set of slides or polls, and I'm going to turn it over to Angie. Thank you.
Thanks, Cap. Excuse me. So yeah, we've reached the portion of the webinar where we're going to ask for your feedback in a short evaluation. So there are 3 questions we'd like you to answer, and then also a box where you can provide additional feedback or suggestions. Upcoming events, as Cap said, we have a peer group call on April 19th, so it'll be a follow-up to this business planning for sustainability. May 9th, as you all know, is our Rural Network Allied Health Training Program Partnership Meeting in San Diego. That will be prefaced by 30-minute one-on-one grantee meetings with Marcia on May 8th, as well as a networking dinner that will take place in a restaurant within the hotel, and I'll be getting that information out to you. And that will begin at 5 p.m. on May 8th. May 9th is the actual partnership meeting, and May 10th, Marcia will finish up with her one-on-one calls with the grantees who had not yet met with her. I believe she sent out an email yesterday letting folks know